Is it on
I
now?
just have waiting for OgunTechies display. No, no, it's not on yet.
Really? Well, it's on from my end here though.
All right, it came live already. It came live now. It came live now.
All right then. Um, okay. Um, I think is it the Google Meet screen that's showing now?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Is it the Google Meet screen showing now?
Yeah, yeah, it's a Google Meet screen now.
All right. So let's just wait for more people to join. And let me get Funsho to join as well. Oh, okay. The sister one has joined. All right. I see we already have people joining now. Hi Victoria. Good morning. Hi Emmanuel. Good morning and welcome to the webinar. Um, we will Funsho will be joining shortly, and we'll go live. We'll get started as soon as he joins. Yeah. Welcome to the webinar, and I hope that you get to have a great time and learn a couple of things as well. So yeah, just stay seated and we'll get started soon. Thank you. Okay, the man, the myth, the legend. Hi, Funsho.
Hi Samuel, I am sorry.
Good morning.
I think I'm quite like I'm 4 minutes late. Good morning.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, well,
Yeah, pretty good. How about you?
I'm good. I'm fine. Hello
Yeah,
everyone.
it's good to have you here once again. Thank you for doing thank you for doing this with us.
Same here.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to be here. Was it like I think it's almost a month now since I came here last, or that we
Yeah, I
had the
think
first one
no, it's been like
more than a
four
month.
it's been like 4 months. Yeah, you were the opening speaker, so yeah, you lasted for like 3 months.
Wow,
Yeah.
awesome.
But yeah,
Cool.
welcome again, everybody. It's good to have you here. And if you are streaming from you, if you're watching from the YouTube, I hope that you can hear us loud and clear as well. If you can't, you can just drop a comment as well. Have on the call me today, Funsho Felix, and um, a brilliant brand designer and brand strategist. There's a lot about the man, and I'll let him, say the lot by himself. So, but yeah, from here on, it's going to be all from shore, and yeah, I hand it over. Have the floor, sir. Your mic is off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Hello guys. I hope you all are well. I hope you all are fine. My name is Funsho Felix. Oluwadaisi Funsho Felix. I won't call myself much of a brand designer now, but like I'm a full time. I like to tag myself a brand strategist, not because I'm leaving the design space or anything, but um, sort of just because it's part of the major work that I do now. I mean, design is really not like the primary work that I like do now, but I still do it. I do it a lot when I need to. Right. I spent probably like the first 4 5 years of my life devoted to that. So yeah, it's amazing. And I would like us to, so as much as possible, I would like this class to be very interactive. Um, you guys saying something or talking, maybe at some point, um, opening or switching on your video. That would really be amazing. So that I can at least see one or two faces. But yeah, let me just start off. But yeah, are we all good? Can I get the emoji the like emoji? Let me see if one or two people are following me. Oh, amazing. Cool. So um I'm just gonna share my screen now. I want to assume everyone is seeing my screen. If you can't, just let me know.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. Um So portfolio building, I tagged this. So I think initially I told Samuel that why is the name of this meeting portfolio building and not case study writing? I feel like those two are kind of different things. But at the same time, there is there are some at the molecular level, and there is the molecular level and there is the atomic level. So I think at the very atomic base is the case study writing. Then if you take it up a notch to the molecular level, then that is when I feel like a combination of case studies form a portfolio, right? But then you can't have a portfolio without case studies, right? So I think the mood of this meeting would be discussing case study writing, how to write case studies from my point of view, from the point of view of this numerous work that I've seen, and from the point of view of using case studies to win clients and to move people basically. Okay, I want to ask a question here. How many of us here probably okay. First question: how many of you here are already have a portfolio, or how many of you already have a portfolio? Like, okay, you raised, and I don't know if you want to ask question or you want to indicate that you have a portfolio. But how many more people here have a portfolio? Okay, it's just one person. Good. How many of you here? How many of you here would love to write, or would love to have a case study, or would know how to, or would learn? Let me say learn. Who want to write a case study? How many of you here? Just like me. You don't have to raise your hand. I'm not seeing any like. Ah, okay. Andres. Okay, amazing. Okay. So I'm going to lead this class with the assumption that not many of you here have a case study. I mean, have a portfolio, but you would love to have one, and then ends would love to write beautiful case studies. Okay, good. All right, that's it. Let's move on. Let's write on. Let's write on. You'd wonder what was this image here doing? I mean, what are they doing here? It's one of the visual imagery that we used for a brand that that spearheaded. We used for a brand launcher with one of the former Chelsea player. I'll I don't know if I should say the name of the brand now because the brand is not fully out yet, but don't worry, I probably will spill it here at some point. Okay, let's go. What makes design worthy of a case study? What makes design worthy of a case study? I want to throw this question out, and I want someone to raise his hand up or a hand and I don't know, say something. What makes design worthy of a case study, quote unquote? I don't be shy, please. I don't. Okay, good. I have some ads. Please go ahead. Just one sentence. That's all. Yeah, go ahead, guys. I think I'm seeing some ads. Or mute your mic and say something. Okay,
Okay,
good.
good morning. Can you hear me?
Morning, Babatunde.
Okay, yeah. So, what could make a design a case study majorly is the approach in which it's been given. For example, now there is actually a change you actually want to make to the company, probably to raise the standard of the organization. And the initial design they had is not what they to do a lot of confusion or give people the idea of what the brand is. So now, when a designer or someone gets on board for the job, and now he's going to be okay. This is what I've been able to do. This is the conversion rate. This is the engagement rate with people, and I believe that's well and enough to be a case study for people to look into and for even potential employer to look into.
Amazing. Thank you, Babatunde. Thank you so much. I don't know if anyone wants to add to that. If anyone wants to add. Okay, no one. All right. Thank you so much, Babatunde. Um, that was I think that captures it like super beautifully. So one of like usually like I remember when I first got into design, and I mean what the only thing that I know how to do back then was just make logos, and once the client liked the logo, we are done. And then I got to a point where it got to a point where I now started hearing people talking about, okay, you need to write case study, okay, portfolios. Like, what was that? What is that? But then, it's a thing of you must have. It's a thing of it's a must have kind of thing for people back then. So I had to like create one. But at the very core of this whole thing that we're talking about, I asked myself when I was preparing this, I was like, what makes design actually worthy of a case study? And then of course, I did some research coming from a psychology background where research is like super key to understand human behavior. You then realize that when it comes to case studies, people don't just do case studies. Okay, why would I want to do a case study? It has to be that that thing, the end result of that thing is probably valuable. The end result of that thing is notable. It is key. And it would be even more valuable to study the things, the processes that led to the final result, right? And I don't know if you guys are football. I don't know how many football fans we have here, but I'm an Arsenal fan. And please keep your biases to yourself. Thank you. The season that Amazon, I don't know if it was Amazon now. Yeah, the season that Amazon did a documentary on Arsenal's season. I've forgotten the year now. I don't know. That I feel like that paints a good picture of what a case study should be like. So in that season, assuming, I mean, it's gone now, assuming the club won something, like probably they ended up winning the Premier League, the show would have been like, of course, without us winning anything, I mean, it's still a banger, to be honest. But if anything, if something had happened at the end of that season, it would have been a crazy, crazy thing for this context of case study, right? So, and you know how documentary is now. They will take you through the entire process, from when the season started to when it ended. It's not like when they were doing the documentary, it's not like they knew that the club was going to win anything, right? But beyond just winning anything, they wanted to showcase the process. They wanted to showcase everything that happened, the players, the reactions, what was going on in the backstage, the coach, the tactics, everything. And it sort of made everything come full circle, because watching that kind of documentary, it lights up something in you. It feels, you now feel like, oh, you now know the club, you know how it operates. It's not just the end results now for you. It's more about the process. All right. So when he says, when I asked myself, because it's a rhetorical question, to be honest, and it's a question for me even, what makes design worthy of a case study? It's worthy of a case study because it is a process, guys. Design is a process. It is always a process. I want you to always think of it now. I, if you're going to take anything away from this meeting, it's that you're doing something very important. It's like you're doing, okay, someone's rank is not muted. So it's like you're doing a research work, right? It's like you're writing a thesis. It's a process from beginning to the end. And for most people, for most creatives, they don't understand that. Precious,
Yes.
can you just mute your mics? Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So for most people, for most designers, they don't quite get the fact that this thing that we are doing, it's a process that is revealing, that has layers. It's like onions, it has a lot of layers. You peel the first layer, you see another one, you peel the next layer, you see another one, right? So I want you to start thinking of your work as a process. It doesn't matter, design, motion. See, if if okay, let me put it this way. I mean, immediately you start working on any project, right? Except maybe, just maybe, currently you don't have what we call a structure to your work, right? Except you don't have like a process, and that is fine. Okay, that's fine. But I would advise you to have something, to have a structure to how you work. Okay. Now, from a designer, from a brand design point of view, okay, there are some people like us, they'll just say, okay, client will come, I need this, I need that. Okay, I need a logo. Okay, that's fine. Bring this money. Okay, we'll do a logo for you. At the end of the day, like one day, 24 hours later, the person comes back with options, and then that's all, right? You are probably underselling yourself and leaving a lot of money on the table by doing your business that way. Okay. Now, what you're currently doing for, let's say, quote unquote, an hypothetical person that does logo, and within 24 hours everything is done. No process, nothing. It's just okay, take, and that's all. what you're doing and what big agencies like Landor, Wolf Ollins, or Pentagram are doing is not different. But why Pentagram is Pentagram and why you is you is because of the process that you have and probably the kind of people that they are able to attract. Okay, so I said all of that to say that it needs to be a process, even when it is not a process currently for you. It needs to be one. Okay, trust me, the process of arriving at, like I said, I'm talking from a brand design point of view now. The process of arriving at the final brand identity, my guy, my bro, my sis, it is a long process and it is a very methodical process. So you start from, okay, understanding the business, doing some discovery stuff. You go from there to mood boarding, to drafting like a collage of some stuff. Then from there you proceed to prototyping, join the logos and all that. And for prototyping, you go to actually sketching this stuff out, doing brand guideline. It is a lot of stuff. So, and throughout all of these phases, it requires thinking. It requires you thinking. It requires you aligning stuff, right? It requires you being clear and being able to create um, distinct, being able to create different parts of the identity, but on the larger lens, on the larger scale, it's looking cohesive. It's more cohesive, right? So it's a crazy process, I would say. So, and I think with the status of it being a process, it deserves a case study. It deserves you writing something about it. It deserves people reading something about it, and it deserves its own experience. All right. So I'll move on from there to what a case study should be. So this is how many people think, or most designers think. Case study equals photo collage. Like I said, I don't know if you see this image right here. It is not a photo collage. It is never a photo collage. And it will never be a photo collage. And hope we know what photo collage. Pinterest is what I would describe as the platform for collages. I mean, you can go to Pinterest now, and what you see first, probably on your mobile or PC, what you are going to see is random pictures. Palm, someone modeling on a chair or something. Another picture you are seeing a furniture. Another one you are seeing a design. Another one you are seeing a typography work. At the end of the day, if you look at a glance, if you look at your screen, all these collages doesn't make sense. It does not, right? And so that is how some people treat their case studies. They treat it as photo collage. Oh, interesting stuff. Oh god, I spend a lot of hours doing this motion stuff. No, 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 I have to add it to my case study. Pam, you put it there. Everybody can see it. Oh, this mock-up. Nice, I bought it. It's a lot of money. I have to add it. Pam, that's it. That is not bad in and of itself. Okay. But a lot of people think that, okay, when you say case study, it has to be collages of your most interesting images from the project. Probably for a UI UX designer, probably for a motion designer. It's just it's just that MP4 file. It's just that wireframe or frame or whatever whatever you guys call it. So I'm here to tell you that it is not that. All right. But instead of it being a photo collage, I personally think of case studies as magazines. If you agree, like me. If you don't, dislike me. Don't worry, we'll still be friends. We'll still be friends. But yeah, let me know you guys are following. I need your thumbs up. I only got one, I got two. Am I getting three? Amazing. So, case studies are magazines and they should be treated as magazines. When I was doing this stuff, I designed these two random stuff for a magazine cover. It was just random, to be honest, because I think that is how I view case study, and it should be easy for me to do. Okay, when you see a magazine, I know the culture, the reading culture has changed. Social media has social media fight everything. So magazine is probably not much of a thing at the moment. But when we used to read magazine, or when magazine was still the thing back then, when you take any magazine, even if it's like 3 4 years back, you will still there's this level of intrigue that you feel picking up a magazine and flipping through the pages, and then seeing the craziness that magazine companies, you know, do on their papers. You see the way they align stuff, the way they will put pictures, the way they will lay out the whole thing, just so that what? Just so that you would read, just so that you will find it interesting, and just so that it doesn't bore you. And I think it's worth saying that just so that you would keep it as, as something like a trophy. I don't know if I'm the only person saying this, but people that read magazines back then, they don't read that magazine and dump it in the dustbin. They keep it because it's like a trophy. It's a work of art. All right. So that is the way case studies should be. One, I mean, it should be one that whenever anybody comes in contact with it, they should live with the feeling. They should live with they should live with an experience. They should live with a feeling, a mood that, oh wow, I've seen something. And a mood that is not just as a result of they seeing the visuals alone. It's a mood as a result of they reading a story, which I'm going to come to next, right? So a magazine with an interesting story. And I want to reiterate the last part, which is story. Okay. Now, before that, how many of you? So when you ask people, oh, this, that, what can you tell me about story? Or if I ask anyone here, like, what can you tell me about story? You will have a lot of things to say. Oh, stories this, stories that. Everybody know what stories is, what stories are. Okay, but why then do we find it difficult to weave it into anything that we find our hands to do, into anything that we are doing, or into whatever kind of thing that we are trying to do or present or create, right? It's funny that we all know what stories is, we all know what story is, we all know what they do, we all know how they work, but we rarely find it being told, and we rarely find its principles being followed in places or fields that needs it the most. I don't know if I'm making sense. So magazine, right? We've established that case study should look like a magazine, but then you find out that magazines are actually filled with stories. Okay. Oh, okay. Someone did that. Da 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 da. Volume two. It covered the entire story, right? And that is the thing with most magazine. It is usually filled with interesting stories. Okay. Now we understand what story is, and we know that now case study is in, if case study is a magazine, and magazine equals a story. Now we can say case study, a good case study also equals a good story. Are we right? Are we following? I hope you are. So when we say stories, now let's look at it. I work for a company, just a side note. I work for a company that believes that story is king, right? We believe story is king. We all know story is king. Pixar, I don't know if you know the company, Pixar, the animation company, where the founder was the one that first came up with the start with that statement, story is king. But I mean, it probably might. I mean, at the time that the statement was made, it may actually have come from the angle of, okay, we are producing amazing visuals, amazing animation, and as with most Pixar movies, they have good stories, right? So for them, it's always not the, oh, you guys, you see the amazing animation and stuff. They don't see the animation, they see the story, so they work on the story more. But beyond films, beyond entertainment, story is actually king, right? Story is actually very king. Coca-Cola is telling you that, oh, the most important thing in this life is happiness, is joy, right? Is sharing happiness. It was a campaign they did back then, sharing happiness, right? I don't know what the current one is, but their most current campaign. But they have always centered their campaign, their brand on happiness, on joy. Okay. But Coca-Cola, it's a good story from Coca-Cola. I mean, you will see their campaigns, their ads, amazing, fantastic stuff. Amazing, fantastic stuff. But Coca-Cola will not tell you that one bottle of Coke contains about 25 teaspoons of sugar, right? They won't tell you that. They won't tell you that when you take one bottle is enough for you. Two bottles maybe not good. Three bottles a day, you are nearing you are nearing gegele to the end. But I said all that to say that stories rule the world, right? Stories can single-handedly mask negative emotions, and all that you see is positive, positive, positive. Okay, and that's what makes it king. I mean, the company I work for, we have probably like built like four ventures, but three is active. And for all of these ventures, in fact, we've raised money for them without actually even building the product. I mean, it's a prototype company, obviously. So we are doing something that, in fact, I think we are the only people doing it in the industry. So let me go into that's not what this class is about. But yeah, you get my point. Story is king. But now let's go into what story is and what makes it king. Coca-Cola is not just telling you that um they are sharing happiness. I mean, if Coca-Cola comes and say, oh, we are about joy, sharing happiness. Samuel give a coke to Joshua, or Gino do give a coke to David, right? They are not just telling us that. They are showing us what it looks like. They are showing us the visuals. But then Coca-Cola also is not showing us the visuals alone in isolation. They are telling us, right? They are associating with people, and they are telling us with a perspective from a point of view, from a POV. Now talking about stories, which I will go in here. Talking about stories, when your story only means visuals, your story is not strong. It's just 1/10, right? And I've already painted a picture of Pinterest. When you go to Pinterest, you find all these collages, bam, 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 bam. At a glance, nothing is going on. Except, I mean, it's just that, for a lot of us, when we go to Pinterest, we know what we are looking for. So instantly we just make a quick search, and then we are we already found what we came for. But at a glance, nothing is making sense, right? So that tells you something, that visuals in isolation does not make sense. It is not a story. It's just visuals. It's just a photo collage, right? It might make sense to you because you're the one that made it. Oh, fine. This image represents this, that. Good. But if you show a layman, someone not interested in what you do, and you tell the person, "Oh, look at this stuff. What do you see?" Bro, I don't see anything. I'm not seeing anything. Okay, let's go to the next phase. So the next one is stories. When your story means visuals plus verbal, and now we are getting somewhere. Okay, now for stories to be stories, they need to be a visual form, and there needs to be a verbal form. So visuals is your pictures, your images, and your verbal is your text, your copy, your the things that people can read. All right. Now pair that together, then you have a story. Ojude happened, right? If you're someone that is not like in Nigeria, like someone in Finland or a native of Australia or something that knows nothing about Ojude, and you show the person pictures from Ojude, they are going to be like, what is going on? Who are these people? But pair it with an interesting story. Oh, this, that, Ojude is something, 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 that happened, something, something, show pictures, and now it starts to make sense. Are you following, guys? Now, the third one is your stories will be 10/10 when it has visuals, when it has verbal, and when it has perspective. When it has perspective. Um, What's it called? So you know all these mimickers, I don't know, all these mimickers that used to do skits and all that stuff. I don't know one by name, but we all know them. When they start to when they mimic um so when they say POV, someone, how this person would criticize someone or something, and then they now start to mimic probably pastors, or they start to mimic musicians, or these secular musicians and all that. I mean, you now start to get a perspective of how people are different, right? How people are different. So, I got no example is coming to mind, but I hope you get the point, right? The way one person would do something, the same thing, the same act is different from the way another person would do that same act, and then you start to get a sense of what perspective means. Sometimes you can see personality, sometimes you can see POV, sometimes you can see vibe, you know, but there has to be that perspective. Perspective now coming in nuances. It could be in the visuals, the way it's photographed. It could be in the verbal, the tone of voice of the copy or the text, right? It could just be in the general vibe of the whole story. Are we making sense? So when you have all of these three elements, you have a 10/10 story. We can say you have a 10/10 case study. Like me if you're following. Shout me, shout me. Yeah. Good. So let's get down to it now. Steps to writing a good case study. Number one, start with your words. Your words. See, if one thing that I pray, or I fear two things. I mean, God forbid, right? God is a gracious God. But one of those things that even if I lose everything in my body, things that I don't want to lose, I don't want to lose my sight, and I don't want to lose my mouth, right? Because with your mouth, with your words, you can rule the world. Trust me, you can rule the world. I tweeted something, was it 2 days ago or so? It's like one of the things that I learned about the first half of this year, or one of the things that became apparently clear to me, is that clear communication would take me far. Okay, asking questions, and clear communication would take me far. All right. And I mean that lends power to this aspect, this first thing that I'm talking about, which is words. Words, they are powerful. All right. And here's the thing with most creatives, or with most creatives, me inclusive, we don't like to write. We don't like to write. We don't like to write at all. I mean, I hate writing. It's since forever. I do not like to write. When I started, I mean, design was sort of like a getaway for me from writing and all that stuff. I like to visualize my writing instead of actually doing the writing. Okay, but then I got to it when I now steadied myself in brand strategy. Sorry. When I studied myself in my play, that was the time that I realized I can't escape this thing. I cannot. Right. And yes, practice, 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 and then we are here. So we want to start with your questions. What are the things that happened during the defining moments during the project? There are and usually there will be defining moments. Maybe you went with a rationale that okay, this should work, but then you came with the results, and then the client said, nah, this is not looking like it, and then I mean, you quiz the client and ask further questions to get some clarity, and then that clarity changed the direction of the design. Those are everything. I mean, these are insights that you should write down when writing your case study. Okay. One mistake most people tend to make is they tend to start with the visuals. Oh, nice case study. Oh, that's fine. Pa pa pam. Fine. Folder. Um, this thing something something startup. Oh, nice. Okay, good. This is it. Open Figma or open AI. Da da da. Put this. Put that. Nah, don't do that. That is not what that like trust me, bro. I'll say trust me, bro. Trust me, bro. That is not how you should start. That is not how you should start. You should start with the unfiltered thought, your unfiltered thoughts, the things that went into this project. All right, from the start to the end. When you met the client, the things that happened, when you presented the first concept, when they approved of it, when you presented the activation materials, when you sent the guidelines, everything. After that, when they rolled out the things that people said, write everything. Write everything. I'm still going to get to those points later. Write everything. Start with your words. Okay. Now, don't be afraid of this guy here, Google Doc. I usually Google start a new folder. I was like, what am I going to write next? What am I going to write next? So don't be afraid of this. Don't be afraid of that blank white sheet, right? Forget that you made visuals for a moment. Okay. So pro tip for here: if a blind man is to read your case study, how do you want them to feel? What do you want them to know and take away from the case study? That should be that should be your that should be your north star when it comes to case study. It's that when if a blind man is to read my case study, what do I want them to take away? What do I want them to feel? It's very important. It's a very important thing to know, especially when you write. And it's not even for case study writing alone. I think there was a time that I created the content on this. Like if a blind man is to experience your brand, what do you want them to feel? Okay, what do you want them to see? And it's so amazing that we now have brands that you can instantly recognize without you seeing their name, without you even seeing. You don't even need to see their name. You don't need to see their logo. All you need is just something from the brand that just makes sense. Coca-Cola has done it several times. I think Amazon has done it several times. McDonald's and all these Western brands, they have done it several times. It just makes like I feel like this is a world that we are getting to now, where it's not just about the visuals anymore. It's just not about what people can see. It's about what people can feel. Of course, it's usually like in with respect to how much time they have spent with your brand and the longevity of your brand as well, right? But in retrospect, it makes sense that I'm able to recognize a brand without actually seeing their name or seeing their logo, right? So the same thing for you here, right? Bringing it home, you need to be able to write a case study that even if a blind man is to read your case study, it will make sense. They will feel something. Am I making sense, guys? Good. So let's go. The second one is after you must have written all those stuff, written all those stuff, you now have like a two page document, or God help you, three or four or five. That's amazing though. If you have that, this is now time to give order to the chaos. Okay? This is now time to give order to the chaos. I made a reference to something that God did in the Bible. I'm a Christian, so I always like to make reference to because God, as we all know it, I don't know if you guys know it. God is the greatest designer. Simple, right? So he said in Genesis 1:14, he said, "Let there be light in the vault of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark sacred times and days and years." So when God made the light to light up everything that He wanted to create, He now made two great lights. Of course, it's biblical and there's a theological sign to the first light that He made. So He made two lights, right? One to govern the day from the night, and the other to serve as just to mark times. And God understand the concept of order. He understand the concept of giving order to chaos. Okay, so as a designer, you want to make sure that you are also structuring, especially if you're following this pattern, writing first, you have to structure second, right? Give order to it. I don't know if 15 minutes is enough for me to finish this, but I'll try. Okay, so a
Yeah.
simple structure to give. Yeah, I'll try.
We
So a
we have
simple.
another meeting link that we can share as well if
Oh,
we need to
okay,
extend.
good,
Yeah.
awesome. So A simple structure here to give order, structure to the chaos that you must have created with your unfiltered thoughts that you must have, put down in the first statement that I make back then. A simple structure is there. So there are three. Yes, there are three. The first one is, what was the problem? So you want to make sure that you understand what the problem was. Okay. And see, I think if you, with the knowledge of case study writing, you should now be able to have a process to your work with clients. Because now that you know that, okay, you need to turn this into a case study, you will now be able to ask the right question. You'll be able to structure your work too. Because your work, right? The structured work, the structured process that you have will give you some sort of leeway, some sort of easy leeway to writing a good case study. So the first one is understanding the problem. What was the problem? You know, and usually client comes with a lot of problem. Is even the client that comes to you and say, oh yeah, I want this, I want to do something, I want this logo, I want this design. Usually they have problem. Like, what was it? I usually tend to ask people like, why what is wrong? What are you trying to solve? Okay, you need the design to promote. Okay, this. Okay, you need this. Okay, fine. But promote it to do what? Now you then start with their answers, with their response, you then start to review, further layers into their challenges. And trust me, there is no depth that you feel like you can get to. Always ask questions, always, with their responses, and that comes with some experience too and learnings, right? Asking them question, okay, you want to get this done. Oh, fine. Why are you doing this now? Why are you doing this now? At this point in time, right? They will tell you something. Okay, fine. Is this thing affecting your bottom line? Is it affecting your revenue? Okay, yes, it is, or it is not. Okay, if it is not, do you think this is the best course of action to go? Do you think is the logo that will solve all your problems? Okay, 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 okay. Now I get you. Okay, so what do you think? Okay, so it's not what I think. It's what level are you, right? So usually you don't tend to diagnose early on. Tend to dig deep, dig deep, always dig deep. So when you dig deep, you'll be able to paint a full picture of the problem. Okay, this is a problem this person has. They are trying to maybe fill in this market gap, or there's an opportunity that they are trying to explore. There's a lot of things. Okay, so understand the problem, and after that, be able to generate a problem statement. Okay, be able to generate a problem statement. Understand the opportunities that are unexplored, right? Sometimes, so I usually tell people that, or at least at some point in my career, I realized that a brand identity doesn't solve all the problem. It doesn't. And I must have, I'm not saying I'm guilty. I must have done, I mean, during the early days, I must have, because of my own selfishness, told clients that, okay, they need this, right? Made a prognosis that, okay, you need this. But at some point, at a point, I changed, and then I started telling them, okay, okay, you need this, but this is not the most important thing. This is actually the most important thing. For a client that needs some, for a client that needs mental, I won't say mental. Okay, so for a client that probably needs some sort of market presence, that kind of person, the brand identity is probably not the primary solution to that, right? You need market presence. It's just like you have a product business, right? You're selling products, and you're saying you're not getting as much sales, but then your product is actually not getting to the places that it needs to get to for you to make sales. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. Your product needs to be in supermarkets, at least in Ibadan. It needs to be like in 10 supermarkets for you to make about 1,000 sales a month. But now currently it is only it is only one Yasukura shop, or one Talase shop or something. I mean, how do you expect to make about 1,000 sales in a month? Right? Think about it. So when those kind of people, when they now come to me and say, okay, they need to do a branding or stuff. No, I know you need that, but let's discuss the actual things, the actual lever that will move the most important thing that you want to move in your business. Let's discuss that now, right? And that's sometimes okay, maybe market presence, right? So you also you understanding, I'll say this, get a general understanding of how branding works. And this is for the brand designers, the designers, quote unquote. Get a general understanding of how branding works, get a general understanding of how business works, okay? And also understand how you can, educate clients and not just, oh, pay this. Yeah, I mean that's so. Don't make it just don't make it a one time, don't make it a transactional relationship. As much as possible, offer your clients a way out. It could involve your own solution, it could involve another solution. But that's one thing we do. Right. Adepoja, are you trying to say something? Okay, thank you, Mike. So yeah, I'll get the first point now, which is understanding the problem. Understand it. Ensure you know what you are tackling, right? Now, the second thing that you need to, the second structure for your case study. Understanding the problem. Understand it. I Adepoju, can you mute your mic? Right? Now, the second thing, that you need to. Okay, good. So the second thing is, how did we solve the problem? How did you solve the problem? Okay, and that is very important. So I know most of you probably know this part. So this is where you start writing about, okay, this logo, we used something, this and that. For this illustration, we use this, we use that. This is where you start writing about that, right? So this is your approach to solving the problem that you must have stated early on. This is your approach. Talk about the strategy, if you did any, the motion and all that stuff, right? This is the stage where you talk about that. And one thing that you want to do here is, a pro tip is, before, when you understand the problem, right, your approach should be single-minded. It should rally around an idea. Okay. And the how you come about the idea is usually comes from a point of view of a brand strategy. Okay, so that is why I think every creative needs to be a strategist. You don't have to necessarily do it as your full-time job, but you should understand strategy. Okay, understanding how, or how everything, understanding the how the whole thing comes together, and the essential, the essence of what you're trying to do with the brand. Okay. And so usually how I do things is that I must have taken this client through a strategy process. So from there, I would understand the ingredients that I need to push the brand identity forward. Okay, so usually it's an idea or a statement. Okay, so like for Nike, just do it. I'm just paraphrasing, just making examples. Okay. For one of the ventures that we worked in, at my company, Ume, it was like Ume means home. Okay, it means home. Okay, and what does home mean? Home means intimacy, home means belonging, home means comfort. Okay. Okay, they're saying we should join another link, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think it would be better if we join so that it
Okay,
doesn't kick us out.
join. Okay, let's migrate, guys. Guys, let's join the link in the chat button, in the chat box. All right, see you.
Hi, Funsho, can you hear me?
Yep,
Okay, okay.
100%.
I think you can just go back to sharing your screen again.
Yeah, I'm not sharing screen. I hope you all can see.
It's lagging from my end,
Okay,
but I
good.
think they can see.
Okay. Should I continue or should we wait some more?
You can go ahead. I think we have enough people in the room.
Okay, good, good. Okay, so yeah, what I do for this part, which is writing about the identity, visual identity, verbal identity, because this part you're talking about how you're solving the problem. So at a glance, you want to make sure that anybody that's reading your case study, they know their approach early on. Okay, they know that this idea is what is guiding the creation of this asset in this particular phase. All right. So, like I was saying, for one of the ventures that we created in my company, is called the name of the venture is called Ume, and it was with the co-founder was Salomon Kalu. I don't know if you guys know him. He's a former Chelsea player. So the idea behind the whole asset, behind the whole brand is all right. We are trying to amplify the concept of we're trying to communicate okay. So and when you say home means belonging, home means intimacy, right? It means joy, it means nostalgia. Say nostalgia, right? So all of these things, when you get this kind of ideas, you will now then be able to confidently, tackle the visuals, with a clear mind. Okay, this is what I'm trying to communicate. Now I'm going to tackle it, right? So you want to do that for your own for your own project too, not just case study, because you must have done it in your project before coming to the case study. So you want to do it with your project. So aim to nail down the I call it the big idea worth rallying around, right? The big idea worth rallying around. So you want to find that big idea, right? Find it. It could be anything. It could be a sentence. It could be a concept. For one of the brands I'm currently working on, it's a food brand, right? And with most food companies, they usually talk about health. They are talking about authentic meals, all those kind of stuff that is it is typical of food brands, right? When I told this my clients, like, we are not going to position against these ideas, right? And this is what we did. I went to research, and I was able to get some statements, some key business statement from the clients, because she understands some strategy. So I was able to get that. So what I did was, okay, these are your competitors. This is fine. I researched them. This is what they are positioning against. I'm not going to do that. We are going to now position against something else, right? And then we're able to dial down the entire branding to a concept. And that concept is time. People don't have people or the so this is strategy. And this is confidential, so but anyway, I'm sharing with you for educational purposes. So the clientele, or the audience that she wants to sell, they are busy professionals, new moms, office guys, people that work like they don't work 9 to 5, they work 9 to 6, and it's a Nigerian brand, so it's like a UK brand. So they work hard, and at the end of the day, food is not like in their head. They are not planning to say, okay, I'm going home. What am I going to cook? Right. So these guys, they are always crunch for time. Right. So health is probably not in their. They are thinking about healthy foods. Let's see. But then We don't want to position against it because obviously that's what the market is positioned, is tilting towards. So we want to tilt towards another thing, right? And that is the concept of time. So we want to tell these guys that they can reclaim time, right? That when they eat, when they patronize this brand, they are not they are not wasting time, they are pausing time, right? So with that concept in mind, I haven't done the identity. I'll get down to that in the next 2 weeks. So but yeah, it made sense because when I presented my rationale to the client, they were able to say, oh wow, okay, this makes sense, this makes sense, this makes sense, that makes sense, right? So you want to, as much as possible, do that for your client too, and the process through which you arrive at these ideas, this big idea that I'm talking about, is usually through research. You have to research, so understand the competitors of this your client brands, understand who they are tackling, aim to do your research to understand what they are positioning, what they are positioning, what their positioning is, aim to understand what their essence is, okay, what the whole brand is about, and usually summarize it in a statement or one word or two words, right? And then when you understand that, you're now able to, okay, for this my client, oh, this is what I want you to position against. Am I making sense, guys? I know it's not question time, but if you have any question concerning this, just write them down. I'll be happy to answer them after the class. So yeah, the next one, we've talked about understanding the problem. We've talked about how you solve the problem, but then your big idea at the back of your mind. Then number three, the last one, is what was the result of solving the problem? So for here, I put optional because sometimes, sometimes the results can be, so it can either be a tangible result or intangible. So for most of the time, or at least in my experience, working with small businesses or businesses that just want to launch, you probably will not have as much. Sorry, guys. You probably will not have as much results from the project rollout. Okay, you probably won't. But if you work with big brands, you will. You certainly will. Right? It might not be fancy, it might not be all in your face, it might not be mind blowing, but you will have some results. And then those results, you want to document them and put things like sales. Did the sales increase or did it decrease? Be honest with yourself. Were stakeholders excited? And when I'm talking about stakeholders, I'm talking about the people in the company, internal employees, and also the customers, the ones outside, external stakeholders. So were they excited? You can easily gauge stakeholder excitement by going to their Instagram page and seeing comments and all of that, going to their Play Store if it's a product company, doing a quick search, go to their Google reviews and all that. You will see everything that you need to see. Okay. Did the launch content go viral? Did it trend on Twitter? Did it trend on TikTok or IG? Was there an upgrade in app? I mean, upsurge in app downloads? I mean, you can always get this data. You don't need to ask the client directly. You can always get the data from external sources. So again, it is optional, right? It's not even the big companies, the big agencies. Usually, it's not every time that they add the results, but they will tell you this is what they did, and that's fine. Okay, and usually, what the client say to you, it also matters, right? So in their excitement, maybe they love the logo or they love the work. What did they say? Make sure that you screenshot it. Screenshot it. Don't use it those screenshot or copy and paste it. Copy and paste it somewhere, right? So yeah, so all of that goes into this third part, which is what was the result of solving the problem. All right, what was the result? What was always the result? So yeah, this is one structure that you can follow. It's not hard. It's just three. The problem, understand the how, and also what was the result? Okay. So these are examples, right? So there's a company that I worked with in the past, Motto. They are probably one of the company that I know writes good case studies. They write amazing case studies, and they don't just write it; they create the experiences too. So you probably might want to check them out. So we are motto.com. You check, you can you find their website and just go to their work. You see a lot of work that they've done, and you can read up on their case studies and how they write, how they put together the case studies. So and also, yeah, there is my company too, which is Mustard. So you can mustard.com. Um yeah, we are motto.com, and also mustard.com too. So by mustard.com. No, it's not mustard, it's by mustard.com. Um so the project there are going to probably be my project, because I'm the design lead for the company. So you see all this, you see the case studies that we've put together. So read up on them and understand how to apply those principles to your own work too. Okay, guys. So the third thing that I'm going to talk about here is people scan, they don't read. All right, people scan, oh, they don't read. So when you, that's why when you open magazines, your eyes will gravitate towards those big image, those big images, one that will span from one page to another. You're like, oh, what did this guy, what did they do? You first see that image, your mind will first set you, and then you now go to the text, you now start reading. So, or sometimes when you see a lot of text, the bold ones, the ones that they bold, the one that was emboldened, that is the one that your eyes will gravitate to first before you now go to the other ones. So we are designers, right? We should be able to harness the principles of design to ensure that you are able to grab or sustain the attention of people within your case studies. All right. So people scan, they don't read. Remember to keep it brief. Okay. We've talked about all the methods to write a case study, writing, understanding the problem, understanding the how, and also the results. So in all of those sections, make sure that you're not writing a thesis. Make sure you're not writing a research paper. Just keep it brief, brief, brief. And now with the advent of I mean, you don't have any issues writing, or you should not have any issues writing, right? All of those things that you've written, you can take it to an AI platform and tell it to help you refine it, or keep it short, or keep it brief. All right. And you can then decide to take those suggestions, or tweak your own to make things brief. So yeah, this is another website or company that I also love or would hopefully want to work with at some point. This is like Fort Canvas. So they also write interesting case studies. If you go to, so this is one of a project that they did, I think for Fulham or something. So yeah, you can see how they keep things brief, the name, three mascots and all that stuff. So if you go to forcanvas.com, you will also see their case studies, so you can get some insights from how to keep things brief and short and concise. All right. So the last one is give context to your story. Give context to your story. It is very important, okay? And usually context comes in your layout. It comes in the design principles that you harness, that you use in your case studies. So for example, this is an example. Is also motto. So in each of the phases, maybe they've written about their identity, or they've written about the problem, they will put another visuals, right? They will put something just to mark, just to keep you interested, keep you engaged, right? So this is where your visuals come in. Think of crucial points in your story that need a visual reference. Okay, crucial points in your story that need a visual reference. So your visuals should complement your words and not be the hero. So that's the whole point of case studies, right? You want to make sure that you're keeping people interested in your story, and as much as possible, you are not losing them along the journey. And visual is not you are not making visuals a hero, because as much as we've explained a good story, what a good story is, the visuals, the verbal, and also the perspective. So for motto here, their own perspective is more nuanced, in the way the visual is, they add a lot of motion designs, the layout and everything. So it's a perspective on its own. So I think it's something that we all can imbibe and we all can start doing in our case studies. All right. so so I said this should be five anyway. So your case study is a magazine, not a research paper, right? There is I think the Bible also talks about doing things in moderation. You want to do things in moderation. As much as you're writing, make sure to keep it brief, right? Make sure to keep things concise and brief. At the end of the day, your case study is not a magazine. I mean, it's a magazine. It's not a research paper, right? It's not a research paper. It's not a folder of words, text, literature review, and all that stuff. No, we are not doing that here. We are designers, all right? So here you can bring your design knowledge to the fore. So think about how you are going to structure your text and your visuals, use your hierarchy, your alignment, all of those design principles that you have learned, use it, let them do the talking. Let's type, I said to them, let's typography do some of the talking for you, all right? And then you can also elevate your story design. So if you notice, for a lot of this, so I have a case study from Koto. I don't know if you guys know Koto. If you see this case study, they have, I mean, yeah, these guys are like, they are, I would say, but probably they are like top three in the world in terms of like design and other stuff. So if you check their websites or some of their case studies, they've been able to weave all of these things that we've talked about. They've been able to weave it into their visuals, right? They have text, they will write text on this stuff, but in the visuals too, you will see text, right? So it's going to be text from the brand, messaging, and all that stuff. And there's going to be some typography, some collages, you can see there's a collage here, there's a picture here, there's another collage. So it's like everything comes together in a unified way, right? So it's not just fancy visual, it's not just fancy motion. The motions are saying something. Okay, so that is a perspective that I was talking about. Then for Wolf Audience too, I think Wolf Audience too is also brilliant. They also have some verbal. They would have communicated some things from at the beginning of the page, and then they will now show you some visuals, which is also really really interesting. Okay, so so let's talk about best practices. So best practices when it comes to writing case study, because as much as possible, um um case study is something that is highly, so I'll say it's not complex, but at least in some cases it can be, because now you're thinking about, okay, how should I write it, when should I write it, and all that stuff. The first one is, you should write your case studies as soon as each project ends. Okay, details will fade. The things you see, one of those things that I battled with when I started writing these case studies is that I usually write them late. Okay, and some of the things that probably, for example, maybe things, I mean, the excitement of the clients, sometimes I don't just really ask them about what they feel. I just go ahead and just, oh, that's fine, oh, I like it, that's fine, right? Sometimes I don't ask them to help me, what to document their excitement for me, so that I can use it in my case study. So, and at the later, in the in the in the days that follow, I usually have difficulties writing case studies, because I have forgotten about the project. The excitement has waned. I in fact, it was a crazy thing for me back then, but then I changed, and thank God I started writing them after the project. But still, to be honest, sometimes it takes time to, right? It takes time to write them. But what I do is, as much as possible, at every process, I document things. I document things. So whether it be my research, whether it be the things that I'm thinking while I was doing the project, whether it be the ideas and other stuff, I usually document it. I usually have I usually have book, like a paper for all of the projects. So it's usually there. So when I want to write a case study, I just go and bring that paper back and it's like, okay, fine, fine. This is what I did, this is what I did. So but if you're not like me, if you can't document as much, as the project is finishing like this, open your doc and write something. Right, right. Okay. The second one is for high stake projects, wait to track results, right? Real outcomes add depth to your case studies. So, like I was saying, as much as this part is optional, it also adds a lot of depth to your case study. When people read it and they see that, oh, after your work, this happened, something happened, it's going to paint a different image of you entirely, right? The client that's still sitting on the fence, that don't know if he or she should go with you or not, they are going to come to a decision quickly, because obviously your work has impact. So the last one is ensure your portfolio is also available both online and offline. Okay. Of course, these days it's easy to whip up what's that platform? I've forgotten. So it's easy to put your stuff on Canva or all of these platforms that we have at our disposal. But also, as much as possible, sometimes you probably might want to apply for work or something. So you want to make sure that you have an offline version of your portfolio too. Um, just in case someone doesn't want to click click on an external link, that's going to take them to one website that will go and collect their WhatsApp number and hack it. So yeah, have an offline version of your portfolio, right? So as I bring this class or this masterclass to an end, remember, you are not just a pixel pusher, you are a storyteller. Always have that at the back of your mind. You are a storyteller. You are not just someone that designs, you are someone that tells story. Maybe you haven't started telling stories full time yet, but you will at some point. And so embrace that, okay, and let that mindset go into everything that you do. All right. So guys, thank you for having me. Just give thumbs up if you've been feeling me. So yeah, and I'm happy to take your questions if you have any. Samuel,
Thank you
you
very
there?
much, Funsho.
Okay.
Okay, Victoria, please go ahead.
Okay, good morning. Thank you so much for the value you've shared. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can.
Okay. Okay. So you said one mistake we should avoid is that we should not start with visual, right?
Yep.
Like is it in terms of when we are trying to put out our work out there? Because I'm speaking from the place of psychology. I want to believe, or I believe that definitely the visual is what will attract, like the visual is what will make them interested at first before even the text. So I'm still trying to place a balance to that based on human psychology.
Okay. So let me clarify your question. So are you coming from a place of content for social media, or from purely a case study, okay, for documentation, a website or a document kind of angle?
No, purely documentation for
Okay.
the
For the
yes.
socials, for your documents, your
For,
case study, right?
yes.
Okay. Okay, good. Good question. Um, I would say that you you can do both, right? You can do both. I don't know how you design, or what your approach to design is generally, but if anybody clicks on your portfolio or opens up your portfolio, it doesn't matter whether they are seeing the visuals first or the text first. What matters to them is, oh, I want to go and see the work that this person has done. All right. So trust me, whenever they've landed on your portfolio, it's not a case of, oh, what I see first will determine if I'm going to look further. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. And as much as possible, I mean, your case study should be in form of a slide, and and not like a PDF that's like, like a A4. Make it like a landscape, such that, if you're opening up a landscape, if you're opening up a presentation on your phone, you are likely to see the first three slides or the first two slides. So at least in the first three slides there should be some visuals, right? But then let there also be text. Okay. From a psychology point of view, and amazing that you mentioned psychology. People are drawn to, people have short attention span. Okay. But that's on platforms that has that has incentivized short attention span. For example, Instagram, social media platform has incentivized short attention span, before they know that, because they know that when they scroll, they are going to see another person's post that's going to keep them engaged. But here, in this case, we are talking about your portfolio. So that's why for a portfolio, it's either is on a link, a dedicated space on the internet, or a document of some sort, right? So anybody that is clicking your portfolio, the person is not thinking that, oh, okay, if I scroll up, I'm going to see. No, the person is interested in your work. So he wants to see your work. So it doesn't matter whether you're leading with visuals, or whether you're leading with text. However you choose to do it, but you don't think that they are going to drop off. No, except it's a content. That's why I asked, if are you talking from a social media perspective, like you mean posting content. But if it's not, don't worry about them dropping off. Anybody that clicks on your portfolio in the first place is interested in seeing all your work. So it now depends on how you engage the person throughout their viewing experience, and that involves your visuals, your text, and every. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Amazing. Any other question? Okay, good. Go, Daniel.
Um, Good morning, sir. I don't know if you
Good
can hear me.
morning, bro. I can, yes.
Okay, thank you
Shoot.
for an amazing session. I really learned a lot. Okay, so my question is, in a case where, as a designer, you're working on like a fictitious brand, like it's not a real
Yeah,
brand. You're trying to just create a case study for that brand. Is it still going to follow the same step, as in defining the problem, how the problem was solved, and result, solving the problem? Because if it is a brand that is not real, you have no real way to measure the impact of what you did. So how do we, balance that aspect of it? And I think the second question is that do prospective clients actually recognize that, like a case study based on a fictional brand? So that's my
yeah,
question.
yeah. Amazing question, Daniel. Thank you for that. So, um, okay, I'll start by saying this. Yes, even fictitious projects can follow similar structures, right? Um, so I don't want you, I want you to, I want you to like listen to this now. I don't want you to think of your projects, even the ones that are not real. I don't want to think of them as fictitious projects. Think of them as real projects that nobody is actually solving yet, or nobody is paying you for yet, right? So I think so. The thing is, clients, people are. I'm sorry. I'm going to look for the word. I'm going to look for the word now. So people are not sophisticated. Let me put it that way. People are not sophisticated. You think that people think, oh, they would think that this is a fake, oh, this is not a real project. Nah, trust me, people won't think that. There are a lot of projects that I've seen on socials, largely I think, that I read, that I look to, and I'm like, oh, so this project wasn't a commission project, really? Because the way it was presented, right? The way it was presented was so amazing that you would have thought, no, this project has to be for a brand, it has to be for a business. And And it's because when I was reading, when I was going through the case study, I did not think, oh, was this project meant for someone? I wasn't looking for, okay, this project was meant for someone or it wasn't. I wasn't coming from an angle of, okay, let me see the kind of company, or let me see the company that this project was meant for. You might think that people would probably look for that, but trust me, people are not that sophisticated. They are not. It is what you present to them and how you present it to them that would shift their thinking into what you think, into what you want them to think. So if you want them to think that, okay, after seeing this case study, I should be the person that they hire, they would think that. Okay, so after seeing this case study, I should be the person that they give this project to. They will think that. All right. So it just depends on the way you word your project. You don't have to mention that it's a fictitious brand. Trust me, you don't. You don't have to mention that it's a fake project. Nah, leave all that. Okay. You the only thing that you need to work on for projects that are not commissioned is that you need to work with the real insight. Yeah, thank you, Mano. Thank you. You need to work with the real insight. I'll come to your question, Mano. You need to work with the real insight, and real insight is, okay, there is a company, all right, but the problem that they are having is a real life problem. I don't understand. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. It's a real life problem. There's a friend of I have friends that do you know, non-commission project like that, but they lead with something that usually most companies would have. So let me give you a pro tip. A pro tip is, you can look at three companies that you want to, like, three companies is in a certain industry that you want to do a non-commission work for. Look at those companies, then look for gaps in what they are doing, or in how they are positioning themselves or presenting themselves. Okay, look for gaps. It could be that their clientele or their clients or their audience base is maybe millennials or maybe Gen Z, or their audience base is people just graduated from university. All those insights, yeah, codify it, do some more work, do some research on it, and think of how you can present or how you can weave that into your work. Call it a name, call it something. Then that problem, lead with that problem. In your approach to how you did it or how you solved it, lead with that. Write it as if you are writing for a normal, a real company, right? And push it out. Don't tell people that, okay, this is a real clinic or something, something, something. Don't do that. Just do it. I'll read it and I'll think, oh wow, this is nice, this is interesting. Okay, so hey, how much do you say you charge? That's how people think. All right. So people are not sophisticated. People will think whatever you want them to think, but you just have to make sure that you're brilliant in your approach to how you present things. I don't know if that answered your question, Daniel.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Awesome. Good. So I have some question in the chat. So I want to ask if it is LD to add business strategy or other strategies used in solving a business problem or in making a brand stand out in our case study. Where does confidentiality go? Okay, I think that's two questions in one. Okay, no, it's one question. Where does confidentiality comes in? What can we share and what can't we share? Okay, good question. Um, I worked for, so at Moto, when I was at Moto, Moto's brand strategy for companies are very confidential. Like, even internal employees, they will tell you these are not to be shared. Sometimes they even lock the file because obviously it's kind of like an NDA kind of thing. Sorry, guys. But there came a time when they wanted to start, so they wanted to position the company not as a design company, because at a point there was, like, even till now there's a lot of design agency all over the world, right? And they are playing at the top 1% of the 1%. So I don't know if you know Moto. So Moto, if you know Andela, Moto did the branding for Andela, and Good Notes, a popular app on the iStore. So there came a time when they wanted to now start positioning as a strategy company and not as a they don't want to be just okay design. They want to position as a brand transformation company, right? So the owners was, because I was the head of social at the time. So the owners was now on me to start to think of ways in which they can not just show their design but also to show their strategy, right? And because of the NDA kind of nature of their strategy work, there was a problem. But here is the thing: there was the major thing when it comes to brand strategy. I'll use brand strategy for example because I don't usually work on business strategy. The major thing in brand strategy is usually the major thing that is really, really NDA level kind of secrecy or secret is the big idea. All right. And usually the way they do their strategy, they would always do like a big idea what's rolling around. And usually I won't even say that's secret because they usually show it on their website. And they would do the end that they would also do some manifesto. They would also do like a voice no, a verbal guide. They would do like a run through of vocabularies that the brand can use. This is really these are really advanced level kind of work though. It's usually insane whenever I get to see their strategy work. So it now came a point when we okay, what can we show to the audience? What can we share to solidify our place to ensure that people are seeing us as not just a design company but as a strategy company. So at a point we were working on showcasing the strategy, but not the entire strategy. More like the regular things that is in a strategy. For example, the mission statement, the key business statement, the vision, the mission, and all that stuff. But when it comes to key things like the research, audience research, they don't show that. When it comes to stakeholders interview, because they would interview these guys, the people in the company, they will get their thoughts and all that stuff. They don't show that, right? Sometimes they don't even share the vocabulary or vocab guide or something. So they've been able to sort of find a way to ensure that okay, we are showing the strategy, but not essentially the entire strategy. So I said all of that to say that you can always show your strategy in your work, right? But be careful not to show everything. Key statements like the vision statement, the mission, those ones are really, as much as they are internal facing stuff, they can also be external facing because I mean people put their vision mission statement, they snap it and put it in one corner in their office, right? Show that the idea, the big idea what rallying around. Show it, tell it to people. This is the idea that this company is about. I mean, we all know what Coca-Cola is all about. We all know what Apple is all about, right? It may not be the same thing, it may not be the exact word that the internal team, you know, aligned on, but we can kind of guess rather, we can know, So show them, but just be sure not to show the research side of things, the competitive kind of, maybe you did some competitor research, you don't show that. You don't want to show that. Just show the final stuff. Okay, we landed at this is the personality, this is the vibe, messaging, right? You can't always show that. Um, Also, note, note, you want to also be sure to get some sort of go ahead from your clients. Okay, are they comfortable seeing their work on your case study? That is very important. Not every client wants to see their work on their case study. There's a work that I did for a branding project rather, and I don't know if you guys know the brand Ajocard. Is a It's in the mode of money points, but they are like the lesser money point of they were part of the first set of people to come back then. I did the work for them, and it took like almost more than a year for me to share anything about the work. Partly because there was a lot of bureaucracy stuff that went on during the course of the project because it's a large company and policy decisions, short callers were many, so it was really a crazy project that at the point I didn't even want to talk about the project. But also it was also a time where I feel like I don't think I want to share this project at this point in time. I also want the brand to have some leeway in the market. Let's see how things go, and then I can talk about it. Took like more than a year for me to actually talk about it, right? So you want to make sure that you're ticking all the boxes, right? Ask the client, get their yes or no. Would you love to see? Oh, fine. And then when they eventually tell you yes, then filter what you put in your case study. The most important thing that people want to see in your case study when it comes to the strategy is the idea, more like the positioning statement or some sort, or the big idea, what's rolling around, like I would usually say. So put that, and try and weave everything, try and ensure that that idea is what seeped in through the entire process of the brand identity creation, the UI UX, everything. Make sure that you weave everything around that thinking. And yeah, that should I think that should answer your question. But if not, just let me know. What can you share? What can't you, bro? You can share everything. Just make sure that you get your clients yes or no. And yeah, you too, based on your own thinking, can add anything. Does that make sense, Manuel? Just let me know if it doesn't. Okay, so you said, and for problem statements, is it always about the problem of the client? What if a brand wants to solve a problem? What if a brand wants to solve a problem? Can that be a problem statement too? Yes. So if the client comes to you and say that, okay, we have this problem, or it could be, so when you say problem can be, okay, so okay, usually 100 out of in okay, let me put it this way. Clients will usually not come to you and say they have a problem because they are self-centered. The CEOs of companies will not say, we have this problem. We want you to help us solve it. Why do they have a company? Why do they have a team? They won't. They will just tell you, okay, we need you to do this. But if one is, if a person is humble enough to say that we have this issue, our social media is not growing, our sales is plummeting, our this is that, then you don't, sometimes you don't necessarily have to take it at face value and say, oh, nice, okay, they said they don't want this, they don't want to do that. No, you also do some sort of audit on your end. Okay, you audit the brand, and if it's an external facing brand, I mean, every brand is even external facing anyway. You audit their touch points, check their Instagram, check their socials, check their websites, ask them questions. Go on Google, search for the brand, go on Twitter, search for the brand, go on Instagram, just you can even no need go on Instagram, go on X. If you type the brand name on X, it will bring all the things that people have said about the brand. You'll be able to know if the brand is, if the problem is as a result of a negative goodwill or a positive one. Obviously it's not going to be positive, it's going to be negative. All right, you will know. Okay, so from there you'll be able to get a good idea of the problem from your own perspective, from your own point of view, not from the client's point of view, because people don't know how to that. See, if you're inside the bottle, it's just like, if you're inside the bottle, you won't see what's going on. You will not be able to see what's going on outside. It's outside, it's the people outside that will be able to know that what is going on around the bottle. Okay, so that is why usually companies hire agencies, hire people just so that they can get to the root of whatever problem that they have. Okay, so if a brand have a problem, if they have a problem already, fine. But you also do your own research to ensure that the problem is actually the problem that they need to be solving. Or if they don't come with a problem, ask for the problem. Ask questions. Usually, nobody is going to pay you on a lot of money just for fancy. I mean, no, it's a capitalist world. I'm paying you to get something from you. All right. So ensure that you ask questions, and that is where question comes in. You need to be able to ask the right questions to also, and also be able to listen. Okay, listen, look into the details, and then ask follow-up questions, right? So that will help you to nail down the problem. Guys, do you have any more questions? I don't know if I answered your questions, Emmanuel. Just let me know if I did. We have 15 more minutes. So any more questions? Please ask your questions. Oh, amazing.
Anyone,
You answered it.
anyone else with more questions to ask from sure? Okay, I guess that will be it then. Thank you
Sounds
so
good.
much, Funsho. Really, really enjoyed this session. Um,
Thank you, Sam.
okay, someone just sent me a chat now saying if you can get the slide.
The slide, absolutely. I'll send it to you.
All right, sure. So
I'll send
I'll
this
get the slides
slide to you.
across to you guys after the call. But yeah, it's been a wonderful session so far. I'm not a designer, but I learned quite a few things, and I think during stand up on Monday I should have a few things to also say. Cool. Right, but yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you making time out,
You're welcome, bro.
of your busy schedule for this. Really, really appreciate it. You guys can also help me, show your appreciation by using your emojis for phone share as well. Yeah,
I appreciate you guys too.
be very impactful to the community and from the depth of my heart and from everybody who comes. I want to say a big thank you to you. So yeah,
Thanks for
um,
having me.
that will be it for today's masterclass session. See you all next month for another masterclass, and I hope you enjoyed the session. Stay with yourselves and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
All right, guys. Bye.
Bye from sure.
Have a good day. Yeah, bye.
Yeah.